This week's episode of Fireside is brought to you by Legends of Belize and Wonders Oddities Expo.
Hello, everybody. You're listening to Fireside Paranormal Podcast. My name is Jordan Cline. I have a fun show for you today. Tonight, my guests are Coldspot Paranormal Research. They're actually joining us on location during an investigation at the Stanley Hotel. This is going to be a real fun one. Before we get to them, just a few announcements.
Legends of Belize is a series about mythical creatures that dwell in the jungles and waters of Belize. The Belizean legends are captured, documented, and preserved like never before in a comprehensive art series and books with fully colored and detailed images of fine art by artists, authors, and award-winning animators Dismas and Grissi G. Discover the supernatural creatures that await deep in the jungles, such as the mysterious dwarf called Tata Duende with backwards feet known to rip the thumbs off of trespassers, or the beautiful shape-shifting woman known to locals as the Ishtabai, who seduces drunks to never be seen again. These creatures and many more can be found in the Legends of Belize books. Learn about the cryptozoological, paranormal, and unexplained creatures that haunt Belize. Be fascinated, be terrified. Belize. Legend of Belize books are available in print and ebook. Buy your copy from your favorite online bookstore such as Amazon, KDP, Apple Books, and many more. Also be sure to visit legendsofbelize.com.
Also, the Wonders Oddities Expo and the Tri-State Exotic Animal Expo have combined in an amazing super show inside the walls of the haunted West Virginia State Penitentiary in Moundsville, West Virginia. This is March 25th and 26th, Saturday and Sunday. The Saturday times are 12 to 8, Sunday 10 to 5. Tickets are $10 at the door. I'll be there with my recording equipment, so if you want to stop by the table, share your personal paranormal story, and check out some of the merch, I'd love to see you. Again, that is March 25th, 26th at the West Virginia State Penitentiary in Moundsville. Did you know that 16% of Americans believe in Bigfoot? When they founded 16% Nation, they had no idea how popular it would become. Their products are designed to appeal to fans of all ages who appreciate the wit, humor, and mystery that surrounds these legendary creatures. For years, they felt alone in the cryptid enthusiasm, but now, thanks to 16% Nation, they know they're not alone. They've created a community where like-minded individuals who share the fascination with Bigfoot, the Loch Ness Monster, and all things cryptid. They're proud to now be the world's #1 destination for cryptid-themed collectibles, apparel, and more. Go to 16nation.com and put code FIRESIDE at checkout for free shipping. 16% Nation is a new affiliate for the show, so definitely go show them some love. All right, let's get to this week's featured story. This week's story comes in from Leanne.
I am Leanne, and we are from Ohio. Okay. So the house is our grandmother's house, and it was built back in the 1800s, and it was actually the hospital for Mount Pleasant, Ohio, back then. So there's a lot of things that go on in there, that house, like the ghost in the window at Meemaw's house is what we call it. So you take pictures of the house, and you could see it in the window, and up, but you'd go up there and there'd be nothing up there. And I lived up there for a couple months. So a lot of times I would be sleeping or just laying down, and like in the twilight, I could like open my eyes. So the second I would open my eyes, there'd always be a little child.
Oh, wow.
A small little child. She'd always run up to me. And it was always the scariest thing ever, and that's why I don't stay there anymore. Yeah, that's why I don't stay there anymore.
I don't stay there because the kid runs up to me
There's
every
a
time
little
I'm
kid.
there.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Leanne. And if you want your story to be one of our featured stories, go ahead and send me an email, firesideparanormalpodcast@gmail.com.
Hey guys, this is Todd, Sean, and Nate, and we are from the Middle Aged and Creeped Out podcast. We drop full episodes every Wednesday night or Thursday morning, and our middle-aged mini-episodes drop on Saturday afternoons at 3 o'clock.
And if you enjoy discussions about the paranormal, weird, unexplained, and just plain creepy, then check out our show. You can find us however you listen to your favorite podcasts. If you like what you hear, don't hesitate to give us a 5-star rating and review. Telling a friend, family member, or even a coworker about us helps the show.
And you can also find us on Facebook and Instagram by searching Middle Aged and Creeped Out. And our TikTok is @Mako Podcast, and that's with 2 A's.
Well, Nate, what do you think?
That's the end of our promo, and that's a wrap.
Well, there you go. So until next time, creepies, Nate is your sound engineer. We are your hosts, Todd and Sean.
And they are middle-aged and creeped out. Keep it creepy.
All right, I want to get to my guests. Join me by the fire as we welcome Jamie, Elisa, and Josh with Coldspot Paranormal Research. Guys, you with us?
We are. Yep.
Perfect. Welcome. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having us. Jinx.
You owe me a Coke. No, so this is really fun because y'all are doing something very interesting right now.
We are.
Right? You want to tell us about what you're doing?
Yeah, so we are staying at the Stanley Hotel in Estes Park, Colorado.
Very cool.
And we are staying in one of what they call the spirited rooms.
One of the spirited rooms? How does that work and what's it mean?
So what that means is these rooms have known paranormal activity in them. And so they set them aside for those who are, say, brave enough to spend the night.
Brave enough to spend the night. So
Yes.
are you spending the entire night investigating?
No.
Really?
Well, not last night. Last night was kind of a long day
No.
yesterday, so
Yeah.
we didn't last too long, till 1:30.
Now, what kind of what kind of free range do you have? Are you just kind of like staying the night and taking advantage of your opportunity, or do you have some freedom to go some places?
Well, we have freedom to roam the halls.
Okay.
So we can roam the halls up on 4th floor, and we're planning on actually investigating the 4th floor hallways tonight.
Yeah.
Okay. So what kind of things have you experienced so far?
So we did a ghost tour, and after the ghost tour, our tour guide invited us to go with her to close up.
Okay.
Because it was the last one for the night. And we followed her and we did a little dowsing rod session and had some cool activity with the dowsing rod session. And I got an EVP during that dowsing rod session that we asked where one of them was standing, if they were standing by me, and we got a whisper that said, no. So, which was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then in that same room, I took a picture. It's in a stage area, and we're just looking at the stage, and I took a picture of it. And on the corner, I took probably 4 pictures in a row, just boom, 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 boom. And the 4th picture had, those the theatrical masks that one's a frowny face, one's a smiley face.
Yeah. Like the theater,
there was
theater stuff.
Yeah, there was one on the side of the stage, and it was huge. It was like the length of the stage, the height of the stage. It was really cool.
Nice.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird. I'd never seen anything like that either.
And honestly, it kind of reminds me of the V for Vendetta mask.
Okay.
A little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a little creepier.
A little bit. But the thing is, it was only in one of the photos.
Yeah. And they were right after another. And then after that picture, my camera wouldn't take any photos. And it was my iPhone, and I couldn't take any photos.
So like still can't take any photos, or it just shut down for the night?
As soon as we left the building, I could take photos.
Oh.
Yeah, it was weird. Super weird. And then this morning, we kind of set out this cute little ghost. It acts like a REM pod. And this morning, we were all sleeping, and it just went off. Like if you walk around it, or touch it, it'll go off. But we were in bed, and all of a sudden, ding, 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 and it starts going off. And we're like, whoa. Okay, do it again.
For those of you that are listening, it's like how big is it? I know it's close to the camera. Like, we are the only ones that get to enjoy the video section of this. So
Right, like
It's good size.
10 inches.
so okay, so
Yeah.
it's like a little plastic ghost, right? And you said it's a REM pod as well.
it acts like a REM pod, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's vibration sensitive and touch sensitive, and it has like this little radius around it. So if you ever get within that, it will start to go off. So it's pretty fun. Yeah.
How close do you keep that to your bed?
It was actually in the middle of the room,
So it was probably, I don't know,
4 feet.
4 feet, 5 feet from either side of us.
Now you're in a place that I always wanted to go, right? That was like, to me, that would be, everybody talks about their like bucket list trips and things like that. Where you are right now is my bucket list, right?
Ours too.
Same here. Yeah.
So being there, and this is why I haven't done it yet, because as I've said several times, I think I talk a lot bigger game than I can internally do.
Yeah.
And the fact that you're staying at the Stanley Hotel, like, I don't know if I could sleep there. Like, I'd book a room
could
and then
do it.
like stay down the street a little bit, you know? Like, I'm totally checking in there tonight, you know, and I'd only come to like set a recorder up and leave really quick. I don't Now, how active has your room? Because you've been there one night so far, right? This is
Yeah,
night
one
2.
night. Yep, 2 more nights to go.
So what has happened so far in your rooms while you're sleeping? Like, have you noticed anything? Have you heard things?
Ooh, that's an interesting one. So when we did leave for our tour, we left a camera and a digital recorder running in the room.
I knew you were not going to just leave a room by itself when you're there. Like,
Oh, no.
I knew
no.
deep down that was not going to happen.
And what's interesting is our room is right by the stairs that go down to the 3rd floor, and you can hear this gentleman clear his throat and then walk down the stairs. And as he's walking down the stairs, you hear a whisper from inside the room that goes, "Hello."
It's fun.
That's so fun.
And then last night when I laid down to go to sleep, I had this feeling that like I was being watched. And you kind of see something for a second at the end of my bed, and it looked like a man. And then it was gone. He was like tall and thin, wearing like a vest, like a suit vest.
So you saw him pretty clear.
Very fast. But I am a visual person anyway, so I can remember things pretty well when I see it.
So Elisa, let me ask you, how long did it take you to go to sleep after that? Were
Oh,
you
I
like,
wasn't
oh,
scared at all.
well, good night, sir.
No, it was more like, okay, I really would like to go to bed. Can you just like walk away, because it's really hard to sleep when you know somebody's staring at you. It wasn't scary. There was 0% scare.
Really?
factor
You
in
were
it.
just like, well, this is something that's happening right now.
Yeah, I was more like, this is what I'm here for. But
Yeah.
I'm so
That's the
tired,
funnest
I
part.
really need to sleep.
Because, and it's really like, so like I just recorded Nick, he was on the 28 Days Haunted, right? He was one of the guys in that. And they stayed in the location for, 28 days, sleeping in the haunted location. And, when I was little, I grew up in a haunted house, but there were, things going on, like knowingly going to investigate, knowing that something's going on, especially in a place like that place, the hotel.
Yeah.
Right. Just going, knowing like, okay, like, was there any hesitations? Like, well, I think it's time for bed now. Like, I think I'm going to have to
No.
have to
No,
go to
it's
bed.
like, we're tired. It's
We're-
time to sleep.
Or it's like, we're bored. They've kind of like stopped hanging out with us, so we
Yeah.
might as well just go to bed.
Oh, hats
Yeah,
off
'cause
to you.
We were doing a portal session
Okay.
right before bed, and they were talking, and we were getting answers, and then it went quiet, and like, all right, it's time to go to bed.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they wanted you to do.
Yeah, right. They were just waiting to watch us as we sleep.
Yeah.
Now, there's the room that inspired The Shining, right?
Yep.
Mhm.
How close are you to there?
We are 2 floors above it, directly above
Directly above it.
Directly above it.
it, directly above
Yeah.
it.
Because we're on the very top floor.
Mm. Have y'all done like? Have you seen the ball? Well, you did the ghost tour. Like I've heard, there's a lot in the ballroom. That's a really active place. You know, the piano playing, and have
We
you
had.
have you
we
been
went
down there
over the
yet?
Mm-mm.
No, we went in the billiards room. And what was the other one?
The
What-
concert hall?
The concert
Yeah.
hall, and then the room where like all the men used to go and talk and smoke before, or I should say after dinner.
Mm.
But there wasn't anything that like happened to us while we were there.
Mm-mm.
Okay, so I want to take advantage of this situation, right? Because here you are, you're active. Like we're talking in the middle of one of your investigations, and I think that's incredibly fun. Tell us some history, right? Because there are people listening right now that are like, "What the heck is the Stanley Hotel? Like, what is that?" So, can you tell us some of the history, what you've researched before going into it?
Do you want the fun haunted history, or do you want
The history of the Stanley
the
Hotel.
history of the hotel?
Well, let's go with the fun haunted one.
Well, perfect. So we'll start with the infamous room 217, because that's the one that most everybody, if you don't know, I mean, what happened in that room, it's really interesting. So back before modern day, electricity where it's very reliable, back in I think it was 1916, right? Yeah, about that. They had these acetylene lamps that were the backup lamps for the hotel.
Mm-hmm.
And wouldn't you know it, power goes out, and this maid has to go around and light these acetylene lamps. And she gets into room 217. She's carrying an open flame candle, and there was a gas leak in the room. She walks into the room, the gas explodes. She is blown down through the floor into the dining room below.
Wow.
And lives.
Really?
And continues to work there.
Until she dies. Until she died.
That's some dedication.
It is. But she is said to haunt the room. And it's interesting because when the Stanley was first came out, it was the main hotel was single women and families only. So they find that if there's a single male or an unmarried couple living in that room, she tends to like hide things and mess with the guests in the room.
Yeah, to show her displeasure. Yeah.
And then you're 2 floors above that?
Directly 2 floors above it.
So is there any part of you that is waiting to hear like an EVP of like an explosion?
Oh, that'd be so cool.
That would be cool. I haven't thought about that.
I haven't
but
even thought about that either.
That would be pretty wicked cool
Well,
to hear that.
and we should hear it here because the blast was so strong, it blew parts of the front of the Stanley Hotel a mile away, or not a mile, half a mile away.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how long ago was this? I know it was a long time ago.
Yeah.
So 106 years?
Wow.
107 years?
Wow. So what makes this hotel so sought after?
Well, honestly, I think it's the movie. So because this was the inspiration for The Shining, that people seek after it because they correlate the movie to the hotel, even though the movie was never shot in this hotel.
No.
So it was shot in what's called the Overlook Hotel in Portland or in Oregon.
But Stephen King did make a miniseries. And I believe that was filmed here.
It was.
Okay.
But the whole thing with Stephen King, when he stayed here, he had an experience as well, which within 5 minutes after his, he had an experience during the night about his son in this dream that he had, getting kind of going to be eaten by a monster or a snake or something.
It was a
Fire hose.
Fire hose. And I told you how much I know about this. and
I'm glad they picked you to talk. No.
Well, I know. You're welcome. And he woke up in sweat and he was like, oh man, I need to go out and take a smoke and like just relax because it was freaking him out. And within 5 minutes, he had the beginning, the middle, and the end of his book figured out.
Really?
From this dream and from this experience that he had that night. So, I mean, he had a haunted experience here. And so that started the whole thing with the book, which started getting novelty for the hotel. And then all of a sudden they're noticing all of these different things happening in these different rooms from previous people who have stayed here. And like there's a doctor that they call the cowboy that is in room 428. And he walks out and wanders the halls and messes with people in the rooms. And there's another one where another ghost will pull the sheets off of the bed while you're trying to sleep. You know, there's like all these different things. There's even a guy who likes to get a kiss from the girls.
That's the cowboy.
Yeah. So I mean,
frisky cowboys.
Yeah. So there's just so many different experiences that people have had here that it's like, how can you not want to, if you're into this stuff, you know, how can you not want to stay in one of these rooms to experience something like that?
Yeah. Well, even our room is supposed to have a gentleman who likes to leave the room and go to the nanny's room for a tryst. So the fourth floor where we were at used to house all the children. Like, so the children would come up here and play. This is where the servants were at, the people who took care of the hotel. And so if you can think about it, they had nannies to watch the children.
Mm-hmm.
And so he just likes to go visit the ladies.
I mean, do you blame him?
It's hard not to.
So with
that's who I wonder if I saw last night.
I was gonna see if you thought that was a connection there for you, or if you thought something else kind of followed you in, since you just did like a ghost tour of the building, right? If something were to
seem
follow
like
you.
that. It kind of seemed like he was. I don't know for sure, obviously, but it just seemed like he was like, "You're in my space." Who are you?
Who is this strange lady in my bed? You are not the nanny.
Well, and it was funny because when we were doing using the portal and asking questions, we're like, "Did you have a favorite?" I also had an EMF detector which lights up when a ghost gets close to it or whatever. And when I asked that question, it went whoop and lit right up.
Wow.
Before anytime you talk about nannies, it lit up.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
Every time you talked about nannies. Before jumping more into the hotel, I want to learn a bit about your group, right? So tell me, what's the relation with everybody? How did you get started? How long have y'all been together?
Wow. So Jamie's my wife.
Hi, Jamie.
And Elisa, we just found on the roadside asking. She had a sign that says, "We'll join paranormal group for food."
Did you find her outside of the hotel? Because that would explain a lot.
But no, we've been together as a team. We've been together. We're on our third year now as a team.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we all used to be part of different teams in the state of Utah, but we kind of ran into each other here and there, and kind of bonded over the paranormal, became friends, and then we're like, hey, you should come hang out with us and come investigate.
And it just worked out from there. It was like, I think it's time, because for me, I was on a team for about 5 or 6 years prior. And I kind of hit my max with how much I could learn and grow and experience with them. And I kind of felt like, okay, I needed a change. and they offered that opportunity, and it's just pretty much skyrocketed from there. So it's been a blast. So it's been the past few years. Yeah.
That's very cool. So you all, like, how long have you all been, I guess, investigating? Like, not together, because you all had different groups beforehand.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, it sounds like you've been in it for a while.
I've been doing it for about 4 years.
Mhm.
Well, we started in 2017
Okay.
officially.
So April will be 5 years.
Okay.
And for me, what, 7 or 8?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I
so-
mean, I've been experiencing things my entire life, so I don't know if that really counts.
Yeah, and my next question would be, do any of you feel like you are, like, sensitive or anything like that?
Yeah, me.
So-
But I think we all have our sensitivities, but just to different degrees.
Yeah,
Okay.
hers is definitely the strongest.
Okay, why do you think that? Because you see guys at the end of your bed that are 100 and some years old dead?
Well, for me, I've just, you know how some people just have experienced it from a very young age, and that's how it was for me.
Mhm.
And I remember the first time I saw an entity, and I was 2 years old, and I saw him until I was probably 7 or 8. And I don't know exactly when that closed off, but it just kind of slowly closed off. But even then, at that point, even though I couldn't see them anymore, I could feel them and know where they were and things like that. So, and I was terrified as a kid, because it doesn't feel good. It's not normal. And the things that I was seeing weren't good. And so it was really scary. And then I would just dream about it and have nightmares. It made me scared of the dark. And then, as I got older, as a teenager, it really intensified as a teen. And I was starting to hear things, and not like hear people talking and things like that. No, I was like hearing people walking up my stairs and banging on my door, and my door was rattling, and like really scary things that were just pretty terrifying. And I would have like, what's that when you fall asleep and your body goes numb?
Sleep paralysis?
Sleep paralysis. I like to play 20 questions all the time. So sleep paralysis, I was getting multiple times every night for about 5 or 6 years. And
Really?
it was exhausting because I wouldn't even be asleep yet, and it would happen. It was just really exhausting. And which you see things when you have the sleep paralysis. And
That's
some
like the
people
old hag syndrome, right? That people talk about.
Yeah. And it's like some people believe that it's real, like you're actually seeing something, that the veil is thin and your mind is open to seeing other things that normally you wouldn't see. And some people think it's just your imagination. I tend to think towards the real side, just from what I've experienced, and when I don't have sleep paralysis. But anyway, so I have been sensitive my entire life, and I decided that I needed to not be afraid of it anymore.
So I want to ask, I want to interject real quick. So, because you've seen the sleep paralysis, demon, monster, ghost, whatever, several times. Does it look the same each time? Is it different each time? Are you seeing different, entities?
I would see different ones, but they would come back. I probably have seen the same ones 10 times each.
Okay.
And they just, it was very random and very sporadic, and I never knew which one I was going to see. And sometimes I didn't see them at all. Sometimes it would just be a really terrifying feeling. So
can I ask,
never
is
knew.
it too personal to, like, do any of them, like, do they feel different ways? Like, do they make you feel different ways, each one individually? Can you describe
no,
them?
because it was always just a super terrifying feeling. It was always like, oh, it's coming. And like, you can feel the room thicken, and you can feel it get intensified, and there's nothing you can do about it. Because at that point, for me, it happened a little bit differently, because a lot of people will get it as they're sleeping.
Yeah.
I wasn't asleep.
Yeah.
I would be reading a book, or I would just be laying in the bed petting my cat. And all of a sudden I would feel it coming and then my body would freeze. And it was really scary because I was fully awake.
So, I mean, can you still call that like the sleep paralysis thing? Or
Well, I
are
have
you
had
like
it where
having
I
like
am
a
asleep and it's the
trance?
exact same thing. So I don't know. But I got it both while I was awake and asleep. But
Oh,
the first
man.
one would generally happen when I was awake. The second one would happen while I was asleep.
I have so many questions. Like, again, something I don't want to experience at all. And I know there's a lot of people listening right now that are like, oh, I just want to experience something, you know.
Not
Not
for us.
that.
That
Not
doesn't
that.
sound like
Not
one
sleep
of those.
paralysis.
Um,
Well, it got to a point for me that I stopped being afraid after a while because I actually watched a documentary on sleep paralysis and they were like, I was terrified until I realized there is some control. I can control my emotion. Because with sleep paralysis, you don't have any like control over your body. You can't scream, you can't yell, you can't move, but you do have control over your own fear. And so I was like, all right, I'm going to take control over this. And slowly over time, I was able to do that. And then instead, it was just annoying. It got to a point where it was just annoying.
so the only experience I have, right, with the sleep paralysis thing, like, you know, your body's paralyzed with it.
Yeah.
I was living alone. I think I was doing podcasting at the time with a show called Whispers. And I think I just got into it. So like I was probably early 20s, right? I was asleep like this and I woke up and I just like felt, and this arm had no feeling, right? It was still paralyzed. So for those of you listening, I got like my arm draped around my chest here, kind of around my neck. And I like lifted it up and I felt a hand and I like picked it up and just like popped back down on my neck. And I just like, ah! Like I lost it. I'm like, who is this? Like there's a man arm on top of me while I'm sleeping. And
You know what? I can tell you, I had this. I
but
had a
that
similar-
terrified me.
Yeah, I bet.
Go
I
ahead.
had a similar experience when I was in high school, I think, and I fell asleep in a certain way that my one arm was kind of underneath me, but also like sticking out from under a blanket or a pillow. And I woke up and I was like, oh, there's a hand there. What is that? And so I touch it with my dominant hand, which was my right hand. So, and you touch it like, that's not a normal, that's somebody else's hand.
Your brain's like detached from your hand.
So freaked out. And then I got up. I'm like, oh, wait, that's my own hand.
Is that what it felt like for you when your hand was on your chest and you
Yeah.
were trying to pull it off?
Okay. Have you ever had like dental work done?
Yes.
Right, where they like completely
Numb
numb
you.
your jaw, but you like feel your face, but you don't feel your face, but you do with your hand.
Yeah.
It's like that. Like I'm definitely feeling a face here, and it's just, but like, yeah, like I'm feeling somebody's hand.
When you wake up like that, it was probably pretty terrifying.
Yeah, especially when you live alone.
Yeah. You're like, who's cuddling with me right now? Who is this?
That is not my dog. So could you, and I know you were kind of getting into it, like with the things that you were seeing, what did they look like?
Oh, man. There was always something wrong with them. They were never fully human
Okay.
looking. By the way, that was the door downstairs.
Mhm.
We always try to tag stuff, so I think that just like came out naturally.
Yeah.
Habit.
I remember, it's funny how I can remember that from when I was so little. They were kind of gray. There was one particular one that was gray. And they were kind of more, like animal-like that tried to be human.
Mm.
Kind of hunched over and longer arms, longer legs, bald, no hair, and no clothes. And they always looked like they were hungry and they were looking at me for dinner. You know what I mean?
Oh.
It was terrifying. It was really terrifying. And I remember one time I walked out of my room and I was probably 4 or 5. I walked out of my room and it was in the basement and our downstairs bathroom didn't work, and I needed to go to the bathroom really bad. And I was like, oh crap. Okay, look down the hall. Are they there? No, are they there? I know they're there. And I'm like, but I don't see them, but I'm gonna make a run for it up the stairs and see how fast I can go. And I remember booking it and then seeing it come through the wall in my basement and just charging me on all fours. And I was terrified, but it didn't look like Gollum. You know, it looked almost like kind of like a wolf, but a human at the same time.
So like a werewolf.
Ish.
See, and that's how different we are, Josh. I was thinking like Beauty and the Beast. I was thinking the Beast. You're like a werewolf. I'm like, oh yeah, that sounds more adult.
Think more Harry Potter, less hair. So, and I remember it trying to like claw my back to try to get me from going up the stairs because it was almost like it had a barrier that it couldn't go past. And I was just trying to make it past that barrier going up the stairs. So, and I remember doing that a few times and that same thing coming out through the wall. And who knows if, I mean, part of me has always wondered if that was really a real thing that I saw, you know, because I'm only 4 or 5.
Yeah.
But it was very clear to me. So it's hard to discount it. So I don't know. But they were always different. They never looked human, like fully human, like you or I. But they were disgusting looking and they always looked hungry.
Wow. Now, I know you said like everybody there is sensitive to some degree. Like
yeah.
Like what about you guys? Is there anything that you've experienced? Like do you hear things, see things, feel things?
Well, if you consider like no sensitivity to be a rock, I would be like 2 scales above a rock. So, I mean, I have in times like I've heard voices, I've seen things, I've experienced things, but not to the same degree.
Yeah.
But like you've walked into a room and you've been like, oh, this feels different.
Oh yeah. And,
you know.
And last night during the tour, we went into this. He was a caretaker of a janitor of the concert hall building.
Okay.
And he slept in the basement. And we walked in there, and I was like, you know, it feels kind of like he's over in this corner. And I didn't say anything to anybody, just because when you're with 20 people and you start saying things like that, the people start to freak out a little bit,
or look at you real weird.
Yeah, one of the two. And then not long after that, the gal's like, yeah, so this is his room, and over in that corner, right where I was thinking he was standing, he's like, that's where his bed was.
Oh.
And I'm like, okay, that makes total sense.
And she would say, start taking pictures over there because he's known to be seen. And so, yeah, you were right on that one.
You know, that rock's not
See, you're
seeming
not just
too
like
hard. That's you're very spongy. It's a rock with some moss on it.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I mean, I don't think I'm.
Oh,
you know you are,
but
for the love.
There was the first one that comes to mind for me was we were doing a investigation at the Fear Factory, and we were down a part of it called the Catacombs.
Mm-hmm.
And Elisa was sitting like on the second step from the bottom, and I was about 4 steps above her sitting there. And then Josh was just kind of standing down on the concrete. And it felt like this female energy. She was very timid, very shy. And she was at the very top of the stairs behind us. And she was like kind of curious as to why we were there. And she was there for like a good 10 minutes. But.
And we would having conversations with her.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it just stopped.
It changed. Like the energy changed. And, you know, the hair stands up. And you get kind of this just creepy vibe. And it felt like something very dark. And it was slowly, what it felt like to me was it was slowly kind of creeping down the steps towards us.
Man.
And you were halfway up the stairs, so it was getting close to you.
And it felt like the closer it got, the more it just felt darker and darker. And so I said something. I'm like, I don't think the female's here anymore. I said, I think there's something much darker here that's kind of coming down towards us. And Elisa's like, yeah, I feel it too. So that gave me validation that what I was feeling was fact.
Yeah.
It wasn't, my imagination. So sometimes I have those experiences, but not like her. Mine are few and far between.
It's crazy. And I've heard a lot of folks say that, the sensitivity is a spectrum. Like everybody's on it somewhere. It's kind of like a muscle that you would use.
Yeah,
right?
I would agree with that.
If you use it more, it's going to get stronger, just like, I know none of you are watching this, but like my crazy amount of muscles that I have is because all of
Look, you're like Arnold's twin.
Yeah. You ever watch, what was that movie, Twins?
Twins, yep.
Danny DeVito. No, but really it's a spectrum. So I think everybody has something, and I think it is crazy. And you're spot on. Like if there's an energy in an area, like you feel it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
You feel a shift.
I remember, I live in West Virginia, so we have like Point Pleasant and all that here. Mothman.
Yeah.
But, like I remember the first time getting out of my car in Point Pleasant, and you just feel it. Like the vibration's different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. It just
The
has that
energy is
like
different, for sure.
something happened here.
Yeah.
Right? It's crazy. So yeah, I know what you're talking about. It's real heavy.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So I know you've been a group for a long time. You're sitting at one of the most haunted locations. You did already bring up another investigation that you had done. Where is your favorite place so far that you've investigated?
Okay. Before we answer that question, I want to clarify it.
Okay.
Favorite place we investigated together? Wow, people below us.
They're very loud, so we're sorry.
Yeah.
There's nobody there. I had to. I'm sorry.
Well, right now I think they're fighting and throwing things around the room.
That's what it sounds like.
It's so violent. So favorite place we investigated together, or
Let's go in general. Let's go in
general.
general because you guys have some separate experiences.
Yeah.
All right. I'm not going first.
All right, Jamie.
Well,
I thought you had something on your chest you wanted to
got
get
mine
off
ready.
there.
Oh,
That's-
I got mine ready.
I got
too.
mine ready, but I'm not going first.
Okay.
Okay, so for me, so far, would be Waverly Hill Sanatorium
Oh,
in
nice.
Louisville, Kentucky. That was definitely my favorite. Josh and I went for the first time. In fact, this is kind of what got him into ghost hunting.
A lot.
Back in 2017, they had this event going on there, and there was going to be like Josh Gates and Steve Gonzalez from Ghost Hunters.
Oh, that's
and
cool.
John Zaffis, and so we decided I wanted to go, and I begged him to go, and he was very hesitant, but gave me the green light. I bought the tickets, and we went, and it was amazing. So much so that 2 years later, we grabbed some family members, and we went and we rented out the entire building ourselves. And there was only 6 of
Come
us in
on.
that building for that night.
I know, I'm so jealous.
And
Wow.
we had one heck of an investigation, and we walked away with some pretty cool evidence.
Yeah.
They have
That's
an
cool.
amazing EVP that is just the sweetest.
Yeah.
Tell 'em
What
that
is it?
one.
What is it?
So when we went to the event in 2017, towards the end of the night, we were up on the 5th floor, and it was the 5th floor, right?
5th floor.
Yeah.
The roof.
And it was just Josh and myself in that area. There were some people at the far end of 5, but you could barely hear them. And I was doing like a Facebook Live, for my family that really wanted to see it. And he had a digital recorder, and he was just kind of sitting up against this wall a little ways away from me. And on the digital, when we listen to it, you can hear me in the background doing the Facebook Live. But then you hear this female voice, and she says like 2 whole sentences. And she says, "I love the way that you love each other." And I'm not near Josh. I'm on the other side of the room,
You're 20 feet away.
and he's sitting by himself with this digital recorder. And there was nobody else in that room or near that room at the time, because I'm not walking around doing my live thing. And there's a whole nother sentence underneath that, and we couldn't quite make out all of it.
No.
But that sentence alone was just so sweet, because there was a lady there that hung herself, or maybe she got hung.
Yep.
We kind of think it was the latter. And she was pregnant, I guess, and with a doctor's baby, and he tried to do an abortion on her and it didn't work. And then she was found dead. And so I think that, in my opinion, it would be pretty clear that it would be her, because she had such an unfortunate love that did not pan out. You know, and then you see these two that are holding hands and being with each other and doing something that they love together. And she, I'm sure, probably wish she had that.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is very sweet. Elisa, your turn.
My favorite was when I was on another team and we went and did a person's house, because we used to go out and help other people's in their homes when they were having issues. And we were in this little old town, and the house had been emptied. There was actually it was a police officer that owned the home, and she had renters in it quite a few times, but they'd always end up leaving before their lease was up. And most of them, they would be divorced by the time they left. And what would happen is, in the home, they would come in this old home, and they would just fight and fight and fight. And they would end up in divorces and leave before the lease, or at the end of the lease, there would be one left, you know? And she was like, something is going on. And every one of them says they hear things in the house, and sometimes it feels really dark in there, and there'll be lights on and it still felt dark. And she wanted us to go and see what was going on in the home. And she never had anyone investigate it. So we had been doing this for a long time. So we're like, we got it. We go in there. We set up our equipment. She has this old like wood burning stove, right? Those things are solid. Put something on top of that, it's not moving, right?
Oh, yeah.
We always do our checks. And so we put a little tiny ball on top of it, and a ping pong ball. And those are really lightweight, so they're easy to move.
Yeah.
But in all honesty, when you're going ghost hunting, you don't really see things like that move very often. It is pretty rare. Well, we set that on top of there in the middle of it, and we had a camera. We had our recorders going, having an EVP session, and all of a sudden, this ball starts spinning on the wood burning stove, and we're all just staring at it like, what is going, like, we're all in shock, right? Like, we don't want to take our eyes off of it. That happened, and then all of a sudden we hear this lady whimpering, like she's crying, and we can all audibly hear it. And so we're all in shock, and we're like, are you okay? Is that you? And then you hear her whimper, it's me. Oh. And we were like, our hearts were breaking. Like, we felt what she was feeling. It felt very, very sad.
Wow.
And so we all heard that audibly, and we all of a sudden hear these heavy footsteps coming down the stairs. And we knew that it was somebody that was controlling her, like her husband or something like that. And it felt like a very abusive situation. And we'd never come across something like that in a home. Generally, they're all separated doing their own things. But it seemed like one had control over the other, and he wanted to take control of the situation. He was coming down mad, and you could feel it. So we hurried quickly, got rid of him, helped her go on her way, and instantly the house felt empty. And I think if you've ever felt what it feels like to have a thick room, or feel that fear where the room feels heavy, that feeling it leave and feeling that emptiness it's like a breath of fresh air. So we walked through that whole house, and we felt that breath of fresh air. And she walked, and she didn't even ever want to go in that house again. She was going to sell it, but she needed to get it cleared before she would sell it. And we told her, you can go ahead and come on in. And she came in and she was like, I've never felt this good in the house. So that for me was just an amazing experience.
That's pretty cool. Josh.
All right.
You've been watching and waiting. I could see
I
it in your
have.
eyes.
So I won't give my top one because Jamie already gave it.
I'm sorry.
So
Rude.
I know.
Should have went first.
But there's always that special place in your heart, right, for the first place you've ever investigated. And so for me, it's always going to be Waverly in that avenue. But there's a really close number 2, and that's the old Montana State Prison in Deer Lodge, Montana. Now, we went there 4 years in a row.
Really?
And investigated this place.
We did.
And it's not like most paranormal investigations, they give you like 4 hours, 5 hours. This place gives you 12.
Really?
You start at 7 o'clock at night and you stay till 7 o'clock in the morning. And every time we've been there, it's been a little different.
Yeah.
And it was 2 times. So the third time we went there.
The first time I was with you?
That was the second.
Okay.
No.
It was the first time.
It was the first time I was with you guys.
Yeah, the first time that Elisa came with us, we were growled at, yelled at, cussed at.
Wow.
And we had audible screams the entire night.
Yeah.
And it started. We were in our base camp, which is essentially it's in the bottom basement of the prison. And I was getting a new camera set up and getting it ready to go. And I walked outside of base camp and I got hissed at. And we hadn't even started investigating yet. But this guy comes up to me and he's just like, right in my ear.
And you know it's going to be a good night.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Right off the bat, you get that. You know you're golden.
Yeah. But we've been touched there. We've had so much go on.
Yeah.
In that place. And it's got an amazing history. It was the first prison for the state of Montana. And there were 2 wardens deputy wardens. No, sorry, wardens. They were killed 50 feet apart, 30 years apart.
Really?
In technically 2 different buildings. Because the one got torn down and they got a new one built up, but he was still that close when he was killed. Just amazing in that. They had a riot that happened after the second warden was killed, that it took the National Guard to be called in and to use a bazooka to quell the riot.
That is intense.
Yeah. So it's like, it just got so much history to it and so much energy in it that it's just been a fun place to investigate. And every time it's been different.
Yeah. Every time.
How do folks get up with you? Like, are you open to having people reach out? Are you open to having people join you or reach out with questions? Like, does that work for you?
Well, absolutely. Like we're definitely open for questions and for communication. So we talked with a gal, 2 weeks ago?
This was just this last week.
Oh, this last week. She was having problems in her home.
Okay.
And we actually did a Zoom call with her, a Zoom call. We did a Zoom call with her and helped her take back her home because she was having all sorts of crazy stuff happen in her house.
Yeah, so we can help you because she didn't even live in the same state.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. How do folks reach out to you?
So the best place is to find us on social media. So you can find us on Twitter at CPR Paranormal. And then you can find us on Facebook at Coldspot Paranormal Research. Those are the 2 best places if you have questions or want to reach out to us. Those are the 2 best places to get us.
Yeah.
Very cool. All right. So we are out of time for this week. I've had a blast. You guys have a lot of stories. I'd love to have you back on. So let's keep in touch.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. So hang tight real quick after we say goodbye. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So have a good day. Be awesome. Fun investigating. And I'm excited to see how the rest of the weekend plans out for you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Y'all have a great day.
You too.
You too.
Bye. And with that, the fire is out. Thank you so much, Coldspot Paranormal Research, for joining me on the show. Thank all of you for listening. I really do appreciate you. If you haven't connected with me online, check out Fireside Paranormal Hub on Facebook. I think I'm going to do a giveaway here soon, so make sure you join that group. That way you're included. We're also on Instagram, Twitter at Fireside Parapod, Parapod, and TikTok. I got to get that TikTok rolling again. It's been a little bit since I posted something, so tag me in something fun. I'll join you in it. And then we got the Patreon, patreon.com/Fireside Paranormal. Bonus audios, bonus interviews, the interview-only section of the show, merchandise, private Discord server, so much more. Go ahead and join that. If you haven't done it yet, you are really missing out. Patreon.com/Fireside Paranormal. And go to firesideparanormal.com. Click on that merch tab and get your sweet, sweet Fireside merch. That is all the time we have for this week. So until next week, everybody, don't be afraid, only believe.